Hey again. So today I was thinking about how becoming a mom has changed me as a teacher. And disclaimer, I don't think you have to be a mom to know and feel what I now know and feel, right? I think there are some people who are naturally born with this gift. But I wouldn't say that I am one of them, right? Some people are naturally born with a motherly nature, and I've never felt like I've had that, right? I knew before when I got married, I was planning to have kids because that's what you do, and that's just a part of life, right? And now that I have my son, it has definitely made me and changed me by making me a more understanding and compassionate person. And like I said, I think some people are naturally born with that gift. That's not me, right? I just had a more callousness than I think. I don't know if callousness is just due to my youth, right? I don't know if when you're younger and less experienced that being less compassionate is normal or if that's abnormal. But I mean, kids, when I taught my students before I had my child, right? They were just other people, right? They were just other people doing life. And other people who were, more angsty. And now that I've had my son, it's like everything makes sense now, right? I feel like I enjoy teaching more, and I feel like I am more compassionate as a teacher because, that's someone's baby, and I don't know why that wasn't a thought that had occurred to me. I went into teaching because I liked helping people, right? I was good at English. I loved reading, and I was, and I think the business world scared me a little. And so I first went into teaching because it just seemed like it was the easiest thing to do for me, just because I had grown up in school all of my life up to that point, right? When you're graduating from high school and college, that's, what you've done your entire life is school. And so it felt comfortable. I was good at it. And I enjoyed it, and so I was like, okay, well, this is something I enjoy, so I might as well become an English teacher because I like to read. That's literally, I think being a teacher, there's some good benefits, right? And when I was in school, I always liked helping fellow students, right? So I enjoyed explaining when I could understand. I wasn't always good in every subject, but when I did understand more than the person next to me, I loved helping them understand, right? There was a time when I was good at algebra. Probably not anymore, but when I did, I enjoyed explaining the formulas, right? And I enjoy reading, and I love to write. When I was younger, I would write, oh my gosh, all the fan fiction that I used to write. For a period of time, that was embarrassing to say, but now I'm just like, that's just what you do when you're a teenager, right? And so I went into this field of teaching because I enjoyed the subject of English, reading and writing. I really wasn't good at grammar. I didn't really know anything about grammar until I got to college, and even then, I didn't know as nearly as much as I know now after teaching elementary school. But really, the reading and the writing, really drew me to being an English teacher. So some teachers maybe go into the field because they're very motherly, all right, before even having kids. But that wasn't me. And now that I have my son, it's like now I feel like I have this more motherly nature, and now I feel like I have a lot more compassion when students are being angsty, or they're fighting with each other, or they're upset about something. I'm a lot less dismissive. Before I was a lot, and I would get a lot more frustrated before with kids, right? I was just so frustrated with how obstinate kids are, and now it's something about me has changed ever since having my son. I just feel like it doesn't bother me as much anymore, right? I understand that they just don't have they got tiny little brains, and they're making the best that they can out of what they currently have, and that they're still learning and growing, and they're not going to know how to handle these very difficult situations, right? Emotionally and mentally, and all of the things. They don't know how to handle conflict, or studying, or they don't know how to handle failing or being successful. They don't know how to handle any of these scenarios because they're kids, and they're not fully developed in being able to handle all of those things. And so now that I'm older, and now that I'm a mom, I have a lot more patience, I think, and I'm not as quick to dismiss whatever thing is upsetting my students, and I'm a lot more solution oriented, and showing students and teaching students social emotional aspects of teaching, because that really is, when you're teaching elementary, maybe not as much in high school. I only taught high school for that one semester in person, and then I did high school as a virtual teacher. But now that I'm an elementary teacher, and have been for a few years, you really have to hone in on those social emotional teaching students how to set their boundaries, and how to handle conflict, and how to handle even success or stress, right? I feel like even I was still learning those things. And maybe I am still learning, how to handle these scenarios. I'm just farther down the road than they are, right? But, I just feel like I've grown a lot. I've really developed, and the longer that I am a teacher, the more even I know how to explain to students how to handle these scenarios. I think at first, when I first started becoming a teacher, I would be frustrated with how students would handle a scenario, right? But I didn't know how to describe or explain what was frustrating me, right? Why, I could, for whatever reason, I couldn't always verbalize, what the student was doing, that, if it was a misbehavior toward me, or if there was an interpersonal conflict with other students. I just felt like I didn't handle things as well as I could have when I first became a teacher, because I didn't I was just reactive, right? I was just reacting to whatever they were doing, rather than being proactive to prevent those behaviors, and setting the tone with expectations and everything, and then also being able to verbalize very specifically when they would do things. It's like, okay, what are you doing that is incorrect in this scenario, or what could you do better next time, right? Or just any number of things that you're, as a teacher, every day, in every class, every minute, you're going to be dealing with student behaviors. positive or negative or anywhere in between. And now that I'm old, now that I'm have more experience, and now that I'm a mom, I have a lot more patience, I have a lot more understanding, and rather than reacting emotionally to what is going on, I think, I set my emotions aside, and first of all, I'm a lot less dismissive, which actually diffuses a lot of things that used to really frustrate me. I really do feel like being a lot less dismissive of students' concerns or whatever, really helps me become a better teacher, helps me respond better to them. Rather than react, I respond, and I verbalize more clearly what's upsetting, what they're doing that they could handle better, and why they should, why this is a better way to react to certain scenarios. So, I mean, I'm wondering if maybe I might do an update to this video, because, every scenario is going to be different. Every student is going to be different. You just never get the same student twice. They all have different situations that they're bringing to the table. And anyway, I kind of got off the rails, but and again, I think some teachers are naturally gifted with this, but that's some of the lessons that I've learned now that I'm a mom. Is A, I've become more patient. B, I'm a lot less dismissive, and I instead of reacting to whatever they're doing, like emotionally reacting, I set my emotions aside. I'm more patient, and I think through, okay, what are they doing? How could they do it better? And then I verbalize that with the students a lot better. And I think all of those things really help create a better classroom, environment, right? The kids feel safer, right? And I go out of my way. I think I'm learning this even now, and I think I'll learn this more and more each year. I listen more to them, right? I think before, I just didn't listen as closely as I do now, right? Again, I'm less dismissive, and I listen more to what they're trying to say. And I'm trying harder over the each year that goes by. I'm trying harder and harder to develop more personal connections with my students and listen to them when they want to share whatever they're excited about. And I'm always looking to give them compliments, and I'm always looking, because, this is somebody's baby, right? Even if this is not my baby, this is somebody's baby. And becoming a mom has really completely altered my whole state of being, as far as seeing this child as someone's baby. And, they might be moody or in this, going through something in the moment, but, kids have a big heart, and they just don't know how to handle themselves, right? And they just have to be taught that. They just have to learn, and they have to be taught those things. And, hopefully, I'm sure their parents at home want to teach them those things too, but they're not here in the classroom, right? They don't, the parent can only do so much when their kids at home, but when they're with me at school, these students are having to interact with 30 other kids, 20 to 30 other students, right? And that's a completely different social situation, right? That really kids don't experience in other ways, right? It's only at school where you're put into this small room all day. Sometimes they rotate classes, but this past year in the pandemic, they had the same kids all year, irritating each other all year, right? And so it's a very high stress situation. And so, what a parent can do at home may not, kids at home may not be put into these stressful, loud, crowded situations that they have to deal with in your classroom, right? And so just looking for those opportunities to show students this is how we interact in this situation, and being academically focused, right? At home they can play their video games and chill, right? At school it's not that simple or easy. You're asking a lot out of a student. You're asking these kids to sit in a room and not just play, but be engaged and always have their brain turned on for every class, every day, for every subject, right? That's a lot to ask, especially when you don't know what some of these students are going through interpersonally or at home. So anyway, I feel like my eyes have been opened. It's like a revelation happening, right? Where now that I'm a mom, I have more compassion, but also I'm a lot less dismissive. I listen a lot more, and I try to develop those interpersonal connections, not just listening to their problems, but also listening to the things that they love, because that really tells them you care, right? Even if, it's like, even if you're not that invested or interested, listening and that goes a long way in them performing and caring about the assignments that you give them, right? So, that's kind of one of my goals, I think, is to develop that more. I won't say that I'm an expert at this. I'm not an expert at, it takes years and years and years of being a teacher to cultivate this skill of teaching, of being an educator, of helping students, not only educating them in my subject, which is English, right, in reading and language, but also showing them how to interact socially and deal with very stressful situations and be engaged, right? That takes years, decades of cultivating to develop that kind of skill. So I wouldn't say that I've reached my goal yet on any of these topics, but I do feel like I finally understand the direction I need to go in. Like, for a while, when I first started teaching, I felt like I was floundering, and I was like, why, what am I doing wrong? And now I feel like, okay, now I understand the direction I need to be going in. And I also feel like I just love and enjoy teaching so much more now that I understand, and now that I'm more compassionate, and now that I know what I need to do to help these kids be engaged and want to learn. So that's what I've learned. I don't know that encompasses everything I've learned now that I'm a mom, but those were just some thoughts on a rainy Friday that I've had. Well, I hope you have a good day. Bye!